What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The name of the show is Politics on My Mind, and I'm the host, Troy Griffith. Let's get the show started. It's going to be a good one.
All of you know who I am.
Yo, what's poppin', ladies and gentlemen? You're tuned into Politics on My Mind, and I am the host, Troy Griffith. This is episode 194. If you would like to listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, you can do so on SoundCloud, Google Play, TuneIn, iTunes. Just go into that search bar, type in Politics on My Mind, hit that subscribe button. If you would like to follow the podcast on Twitter, you can do so at Politics on My MND. That's politics without the I. So politics on my MND. And once again, that's on the Bluebird, twitter.com. Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021, and I would like to welcome you to the only political podcast for the hip-hop generation. And as always, I have to tell you about the website, politicsonmymind.com. What's poppin', ladies and gentlemen? I know you heard something different in that intro, so let me break it down. So here's the deal. The top of the year started, and I said I wanted to move away from the POMM podcast Twitter, because what I realized a lot of people were coming to the Twitter page, and a lot of people was not following because, you know, people have their apprehensions about podcasts, right? So, in other words, sometimes I've noticed it with, you know, shows I may call in that I listen to, and I'll give you an example. This rap show I listen to, they have like a Feel Good Friday. So one day I was like, yo, I'm going to call in and be like, yo, I reached episode 150 on my podcast. And they were like, nah, do you have something else? And it got me to thinking that I was like, yo, people like, you know, they really frown, especially when they got something else going on. They don't really feel the podcast thing in the name. So I said, you know what? Let me change the Twitter handle. And also there's that. And then I also want to, obviously, if you're doing something, I would like to grow the brand. And I don't only want to focus on the podcast aspect of it. I really want to focus on the politics on my mind aspect of it. So now, how do I get to politics on my mind without the I on Twitter? That's because Twitter only allows 15 characters. And politics on my mind is 16 characters. So I struggled New Year's Day. I was like, should I do politic on my mind? And I was like, should I just do poly on my mind? And then finally, after some consultation, I was like, I'll just do politics on my mind. And at the glance with the I, right? When I say, double entendre, your two I's and then the letter I. Double entendre, boom, boom, shout out to me, right? With your eyes, you're going to see, and you're going to think you see the I, right? But when you go look for it, you have to type in politics on my MND. That's M as in mind, N as in November, D as in Delta. It's politics on my mind without the letter I. It's that simple, right? It's really not that hard. If you don't understand it, you probably should have had Hooked on Phonics when you were younger. You know what I mean? Yo, but with that said, that's out of the way. I don't want to spend too much time because I really want to get to the topic at hand. I don't want this episode to be an hour and a half, 2 hours, because I think what I have to say this episode, I know what I have to say this episode is super important. So I'm going to start it off. First episode of 2021. I'm coming into my 5th year of doing this podcast. February 1st will be 5 years I've been doing this podcast. Lord have mercy. I'll have a whole conversation for you guys then. Then it's going to be about me. The topic of that episode is going to be 5-year episode. You know what I mean? So top of the year, Happy New Year. I hope you got everything you wished for last year. I hope that, you know, the same success, the same blessings reach your way this year. And I enjoy the fact that, and I appreciate the fact that you tune into every single episode or not. Even if you tap in one or two, I appreciate you, and I hope you stick around for 2021 as well. As we all know, there's a thing called COVID. It's still around. I need you to wash your hands. That's what I need you to do. I need you to wash your hands. I need you to wear your mask. I need you to social distance because black people are dying at an alarming rate here. So I want everybody to do what they're supposed to do to keep me, your mama, and your cousin too safe. All right. So that was Outkast, sorry, Miss Jackson. I just had to throw that in there. And as I mentioned, I really want to get to this episode. I really want to keep this episode, under 1 hour, because I want you to be able to listen to it and get all of it without missing anything. So I usually do, like, at the top, I break some news in, but I feel as though I may get that at the bottom, or I'll just run through it here. When I say run through it, I mean try to keep it under 20 minutes at the top, so I can spend 40 minutes or so talking about the topic at hand. One of the most important things that I saw this week is that the December jobs report came out. And in that December jobs report, it said 145,000 jobs were lost. And, all of it were women. I was like, what? Over at the cut.com, all the jobs lost in December 2020 were held by women. I just want you to think about that for a minute. There's a pandemic taking place. Therefore, COVID is making businesses shut down. Operate a part-time because of the pandemic, right? Because one person fuck up is everybody's fuck up. Poor leadership give you poor outcomes. And per an analysis, according to thecut.com, per an analysis by the National Women's Law Center, all of them belong to women, all of the 140,000 jobs. The National Women's Law Center delved into December numbers and found that whereas men actually gained 16,000 jobs, women as a whole lost 156,000, meaning that women account for a reported 111% of December job losses. That's disheartening. But what this doesn't really say, I was going to say this. Those numbers don't reflect black and brown people initially, but then they go on to say the downturn has weighed heaviest on women of color. In total, analysis conducted, 154,000 black women who left the workforce in December, the largest one drop in their labor force size since March and April 2020. Among black women aged 20 and older, the unemployment rate was 8.4%, or about 1 in 12 people, black women. That's mind fucking blowing, right? That's black women. 1 in 11 Latinas aged 20 and older were unemployed in December, or 9.1% compared to 8.2% in November. So black and brown women are losing their jobs left and right. And we know this. This is what we do know, right? I went through that painstakingly numbers for you to understand. We know as a whole, black and brown people fare worse in the job market. So if a black woman, a Latina woman, lose her job and her husband, assuming they're in a heterosexual relationship, their husband is actually making less than his white counterparts. So what this job report really say is that as a whole, black and brown people are taking the brunt of this economic downturn, as they always do, as we always do. Compare that to the fact that Elon Musk just took over as the richest man over Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos was number one. Elon Musk was number two. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon. Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla. Right? Jeff Bezos was number two. Jeff Bezos was number one. Elon Musk was number two. Jeff Bezos is now in number two. Elon Musk is now in number one. And right there you have two white men who are skiing, sliding, slalom into billions. Meanwhile, black and brown people are taking the brunt of this. And this is a direct impact of poor leadership. I wanted to focus on this, that how women are faring the brunt of this evil downturn in our economy because of one person fuck up. I just wanted to talk about that. And I will only have time to get to one more story because, as I said, I want to keep this real short. And if time permitting, I'll go ahead and talk about the other stuff. So one of the things I like to do about the new year, I like to talk about new laws, right? And we can think of this as it's always good to be aware of these things. And sometimes, it may not be laws that punish individual behaviors. It could be laws that protect consumers. For example, according to according to the Wall Street Journal's, hospitals will now be required to publish their prices, right? So this is important because over at the Wall Street Journal, hospitals say they will publish previously secret prices. Hospitals didn't say that shit. They're forced to do it, right? So what happened is this is because someone who is looking to get a procedure done can't say to themselves, hospital A is higher than hospital B, and therefore go and bargain because they don't know the price, right? But the sad part that they actually had to come to this where you had to find a law that will force hospitals to post their prices, because in this country we have a system of for-profit healthcare. And this is not going to end until we have universal health care. So as of this year, hospitals will now have to post their prices for a procedure. So that knee surgery at hospital A might be $1,200. Hospital B might have it for $2,700. And therefore, you create a system, Republicans like to say free market, which in fact is a way of just to say, keep black, brown, poor, low income people out of the mix, right? So it makes it harder for those set of people that I mentioned to be in the mix, to receive health care, to have health care, right? But what this does is give you a better bargaining chip. But but here's the thing. I don't think this changed anything on the individual level. I'm going to tell you why. Because according to this Wall Street Journal article, that employers and insurance company usually go hand in hand and have the conversation as to, prices. But I'm not an employer, so I don't know. I'm not a CEO of a company, or I'm not a small business owner. But what I think this does is this changes the bargaining chips for employers, because employers can say, oh, hospital A have it for this price. And, looking at our data, we've paid mostly for employees are having this, employees are having X, employees are having Y, if I understand it correctly. So we would like, this type of insurance that deal with this hospital because they have inexpensive prices compared to the hospitals that we're tied to. Follow me for a minute. I'll just pick on somebody. Let's say me as an employer, we have, as an employer, let's say my company is Widget Company, right? And as Widget Company, we have X hospital, right? We have X insurance, but X insurance doesn't allow me to go to Y hospital. It's not in network. So as an employer now, for our Widget Company, I can say, yo, I don't want this insurance anymore. I don't want X insurance anymore. I want Y insurance to go with Y hospital, if that makes sense. And I think this is what will open with this. If I understand it correctly, I'm not, I wasn't a policy maker under the Affordable Care Act, widely known, colloquially known as, I messed that word up, widely known as Obamacare. I wasn't a policy maker under there, so this is the best I can explain it. But until we get universal health care, this is a short-term fix. This doesn't solve anything. And there's somebody out there probably thinking to themselves, here you go talking about socialism again. Yep. You know what? It's nothing wrong with that. If you find something wrong with that, you find something wrong with public schools, fire department, police department, post office, public road, public bridges, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. I purposely coughed because it literally says Social Security in the fucking name. Like, if it doesn't get more socialism than that, right? So, like, calm the fuck down, people. You got these Republicans now screaming about, socialism. This country is gonna turn into a socialism. I saw like a 60-something-year-old person arguing that this country is going to turn into a socialist country. Meanwhile, I guarantee you they're probably on fucking Medicare. Because don't you get Medicare after like age 65? And don't you get Social Security unless you're made? Listen, let me tell you something. Warren Buffett will get Social Security. He talks about it all the time. Although I think it cuts off at a certain age. I'm just saying. But the point remains, right? Unless you make a certain amount of money, Social Security is going to be beneficial to you. But I don't want to sidetrack. I just wanted to focus on that. I don't think it's going to change anything, but it's gearing to actually having a conversation in us getting to universal health care, because health care is a right. There's no reason why people should be putting off surgeries because they can't afford it, right? Because I need to pay a rent. I need to pay a mortgage. I need to put food on the table. My kids need to go to college. So that knee surgery, that whatever surgery, why we always pick on the knee surgery? Like I always hear people, knee surgery. Like there's other surgeries, right? But that surgery has to hold off because I have other important things to do. So universal health care it is. Medicare for all. Take that. 15 minutes. I got to go into this. So you're looking at, let me do this. I'll start with this, right? So remember before we left for the year, I said, I kept pounding. I was like, yo, call your friend, your foe, your ex-lover, your ex-boyfriend, if it's safe to do so in Georgia, and let them know about John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Yo, these people ran for Senate in Georgia, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, the pastor of a church that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the pastor of. John Ossoff, I got to admit, I was saying to myself, John Ossoff, if you lose this seat, this is your second time running for a top office, and you don't get that shit, you need to step the fuck aside. But he got that. He won that seat. They won their seat, beating out what I believe, this is my opinion, they won that seat beating out two of the most crooked senators to ever hold the seat. These people are problematic. They were Purdue and Kelly Loeffler, problematic people, right? So I was making calls for both of these candidates. And one woman said to me, she was like, we got this. We're voting. Another young man, although he was like a little upset, he was like, yo, we know it's important. What's wrong with you? Yeah, we get it. We're going. But y'all keep calling. Even though he was like upset that we were sending out so many calls, he was like, we know this is important. We're going to vote. And I heard their voices, and this is what this country will do to you. It will have you questioning your own community. When I heard that two separate people don't know each other, two separate calls I made, when I heard those people say that, I should have said, oh, we got this in the bag. Because to hear a young black man, I could tell from his voice, say that, I should have known, this is it. We got this in the bag. But with that seat, what it does, it gives Joe Biden and Kamala Harris the majority in the Senate. So now Chuck Schumer, who was the Senate minority leader, becomes the Senate majority leader. Mitch McConnell, who is like, a white supremacist, like by birth, he becomes the Senate minority leader. And it gives John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock a seat at the table. Two people who are there, and we need to hold them accountable that, they're there for this reason. Raphael Warnock will have to run in 2 more years because Kelly Loeffler never won an election. She was appointed to the seat. John Ossoff, he will be there for the full term because he beat an actual incumbent. So this, black people and Latinos, they gave that win to Georgia. Came out heavy for Georgia, right? So this gives the Democratic Party control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. Major kudos to every single person. If you made calls, if you knocked on doors, if you volunteered on the campaign, shoot, even if you called someone in Georgia and said, yo, I know you live down there, go out and vote. Shout out to you. Shout out to Stacey Abrams. Shout out to Latasha Brown. Shout out to, shout out to all the organizations, all the individuals who showed up and went out there to get people to vote, because this matter, and it's really important that, we stick together on this and we hold them accountable as they should. I was trying to look for the Black Men organization. I think it's called Black Men Vote, if I'm not mistaken. They also are out there. They're having conversations about holding these candidates responsible, and holding them responsible and showing up, and getting our vote. I'm sorry, I'm just like stumbling here because I really want to get this organization right. I can't, but I think it's blackmenvote.org. I'm not seeing someone on the website that's recognizable here, but it talk about all the important issues to black men, law enforcement, black businesses, courts, judges, education, healthcare, and making emphasis that black men are a strong voting base as well as black women. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I hope I'm getting this website right. And I don't want to edit this out. I just want to talk about it. But what I have to tell you about is with Kamala Harris, with Kamala Harris as the VP, her seat became vacant. And if you recall, I was like, yo, black woman should be in there. But the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, he appointed Alex Padilla, and he was the Secretary of State, and he got the call. He said, yo, he was ecstatic. His parents was, this is Alex Padilla. He was like, yo, he was like so elated at the fact that, it was a dream from him. His parents came from Mexico, in his words, to pursue the American dream. And, they worked real hard. And he was really happy about it. And he said he called his dad, and, he lost his mom about a year ago. And he said his dad said that his mother would be so proud of him. So the son of a cook and a house cleaner, I think respectively, I think his dad was a cook and his mother was a house cleaner. And in his words, quote unquote, immensely humble. But the seat will be going to his vacant seat as Secretary of State will be going to Shirley Weber. Another history-making moment. Her mother, Shirley Weber will actually be the first black woman to hold the seat in California. Damn, we still making first. It's 2021. This is weird. She once again grew up in a grew up in a family that voting was at the center. I'll quote her: being at the center of voting rights and laws that govern the state is a motivating factor in the work, and I will continue to do so. She grew up in a family that took this matter seriously. So she's super belated to be doing this. Just excited, but it should have been a black woman. Her father, Shirley Weber's father, a sharecropper in Arkansas who fled violence to California. He left Arkansas from racist violence to go to California and didn't get a chance to vote until well into his 30s. Think about that. Her dad didn't get a chance to vote well into his 30s. But once the family was settled in Los Angeles, their living room served as a polling place. Think about that. She said, we knew as kids how important it was to vote and how significant it was that my dad and mom were denied the right to vote. And now a black woman whose father did not get the opportunity to vote will be in charge of the Secretary of State position. Keep telling y'all, man, you may not do politics, but politics will do you. Now, I know you see the title of the episode and you're probably wondering to yourself, the man who killed the Republican Party, right? And I want y'all to step back for a minute and don't think of this in the way, when I say the man who killed the Republican Party, and I'm going to talk about what I'm speaking about, but I want to focus on the title for a minute. When I say the man who killed the Republican Party, I'm talking about that was an easy title, but the longer title should have been the men who killed the Republican Party, the women who killed the Republican Party, the media who killed the Republican Party, right? The racist policies that killed the Republican Party, the enabling Democrats that killed the Republican Party, white nationalism that killed the Republican Party, white supremacy that killed the Republican Party, right? So racism knows no boundaries here. So there's someone listening to this and saying to themselves, oh, you acting like the Democrats not racist. And a person who say something like that, it tells me they're not informed and they're not interested in having a conversation. So to you, individual, I say this conversation isn't for you because you don't have the intellectual fortitude to have this conversation. But if you want to learn, I encourage you to stay around, right? As I mentioned, racism knows no boundaries. So racism isn't a democratic thing, a republic thing. Racism is global. You understand? So I want you to understand that. I don't subscribe to a party in the sense of this is the Democratic Party, so I'm sticking with it. I subscribe to that party because I know that party is not actively trying to prevent me from voting, right? Exercising my right that my ancestors fought for. So I say that to say this. When you listen to this, I want you to think about the man who killed the Republican Party is not the man who killed the Republican Party. The reason this one person was able to kill the Republican Party because this one person has been enabled through different people, through different entities. That's what I want you to think about, right? And racism is not fettered or racist. Racism or racist is not tethered to one thing. It's institutional. So think of it like that. Racism and a racist is global. You could go anywhere in the world and you could find somebody that don't like black people, that don't like brown people, that don't like indigenous people, right? So think of it like that. So what am I getting at? You're probably thinking about at this point. So by now we've all seen on the news, we've heard about it, we heard other people talking about it, what went on at the U.S. Capitol last week, January 6th, when members of Congress were doing their constitutional duty. And I don't say that as some person that, fucking humps the Constitution. I'm saying it as a fact. They were doing their constitutional duty. So as they were doing that, some miles away, we'll say about a few miles away, the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, was holding a rally. And he was talking to these people. And as he's talking to these people, he's saying, basically, go stop them from doing what they're doing. And what were they doing? On January 6th, members of Congress, headed by the vice president, Mike Pence of the United States, was basically going to get together and say, Arizona, tell me how many electoral votes you have for Donald Trump. Tell me how many electoral votes you have for Joe Biden, right? And that was it. Georgia, same thing. Went through state by state. If there are any objections, let me know. And while that was taking place, members of Congress would either say, hey, I object. And if they object, they have to have a discussion about it. But what was happening miles away was very important. I was going to play a clip, but I'll say, let me just tell you this. What was happening miles away was important because as this is taking place, let's back up just a couple more days. As this was taking place, Donald Trump was calling the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, in Georgia, and basically telling him, I need you to find 11,000 votes for me so I can win Georgia. Therefore, I can win the election. Completely illegal to interfere with an election. It's illegal. You cannot interfere with an election, right? So fast forward, come back to January 6th. Donald Trump is holding this rally. Everyone comes out there. Donald Trump Jr., Rudy Giuliani. Donald Trump comes out and say, we're marching to the Capitol, and we're going to go to the Capitol, and we're going to stop them, the U.S. Capitol. So these people, mostly, majority, exponentially, if not all, white, walk to the Capitol. They march to the Capitol. They get to the Capitol. They start going up the stairs. Mind you, it's a whole fucking pandemic going on. 99%, percent of these people don't have on a mask. Most people I see did not have on a mask. Some did, most didn't. They go up to the Capitol, push the Capitol police officers trying to get in, and they get in and they're trying to stop them. But as this is going on, this is what we find out later. So remember I said there's an entire pandemic going on, right? Entire pandemic taking place, global pandemic, just like racism, it's global, right? Taking place. So since March, I believe, April, the Capitol has not been having tourists in there like they normally do because it's a whole pandemic. So nobody is in there. So some of these people might play the game like, oh, I thought we could go in there. No, you couldn't. Okay. So we'll pause when hundreds of people are at the door, bust through the seams of the Capitol Police. We'll pause right here. We found out later, Donald Trump, because remember, he's trying to steal an election. He's on the phone having his attorney, it's really not his attorney. He says his attorney, but I doubt Rudy Giuliani gets paid. Rudolph Giuliani, former mayor of New York City, failed presidential candidate. I doubt he gets paid. Like Joe Biden once said about Rudy Giuliani, 3 words come out of his mouth: a verb, a noun, and 9/11. I'm just saying, just putting it out there. So, okay, as this is happening, Donald Trump has Rudy Giuliani calling senators and telling them, yo, I need you to, object to this so, the votes don't go through, the electoral votes, right? So it doesn't complete. Basically, I need you to buy me time. How we know this? Because Rudolph Giuliani placed the call to Senator, I believe it was Mike Lee, but he was trying to get Senator Tommy Tuberville. And the story goes that Senator Mike Lee had to get Tommy Tuberville on the phone and give it to him, and he was leaving a voicemail on other senators' phone saying, stop the election, right? So, but he ended up leaving that voicemail. So, come back to these people. These people are going there trying to stop them, right? They're rioters. They're, being called now insurrectionists. Hundreds of white people stormed the Capitol in a coup d'etat. This is a coup, right? Some people say at the beginning this was a bloodless coup. Come to find out, 5 people died. I believe 1 officer and 4 people died, right? 1 U.S. Capitol Police officer that got killed. So they're screaming out, hang Mike Pence. They're screaming out, where's Mike Pence? All that good stuff. They're screaming out all of that, right? And as this is taking place, police officers are standing by wondering, what, like, you know what I mean? Well, excuse me. Police officers are standing by, and black and brown people who participated in the Black Lives Matter protest over the summer is seeing racism on full display in front of them. How law enforcement deal. This has become Exhibit A on how the law enforcement treat black and brown people. We have to look no further anymore because it's on full display. Look, black and brown people knew this, right? This is nothing new. It's who was it? Representative Cori Bush, the newly elected representative from Missouri. She said, she wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, and she said, let me just find it for you. Black people know. I don't want to miscalculate it. This is the America that black people know. If you would like to read it, just go to Washington Post. You'll see it. You'll read the article, and you'll get exactly what she was talking about. It was a very insightful op-ed, by the way. So, but if you so you watch what was taking place on January 6th. You're watching it on TV, you're thinking to yourself, like, wait, so nobody is getting shot. You guys are just, these white men and women are taking flagpoles, zip ties, helmets, police riot shields in the Capitol. They're actually chasing down a black officer. Other officers are being pushed. They have on riot gear. Nobody's, like, at this moment, hundreds of people aren't shot. Hundreds of people aren't arrested like they do with black people, right? Hundreds of people being arrested at one little protest. So you saw all of that on full display. But, some people want to pretend the way we got up to this moment is because of Donald Trump. And when in fact, if you all could just indulge me for a few, I'm going to clip you to death this episode. CLIP. I'm going to clip you to death. No pun intended. I'm going to play some clips, but I want to make a larger point. This notion that somehow Donald Trump destroyed the Republican Party is bullshit. They're full of shit, and they're more full of shit because this has been the Republican Party all along. And I'm just going to walk you through in some historical moments, right? Not to, just to bring you up to speed on the conversation. I want to play some clips for you. And I said in no particular order, but it's important that we have these conversations in historical content because I don't want people who listen to my podcast to walk away and I'm having the same conversation that everybody have, right? So, and I've talked about this before, the Compromise of 1877, and it's kind of weird that I actually went to Samuel J. Tilden High School, and I did not know this when I was actually in Samuel J. Tilden High School in Brooklyn, New York, but my life come full circle. But I'm going to play this clip for you. It's about the Compromise of 1877. Here goes.
In 1876, you have this presidential election. Rutherford Hayes, the governor of Ohio, is running for the Republicans. Samuel Tilden, ex-governor of New York at that time, is running as the Democratic candidate. And it's a very close, disputed election, somewhat like the election of 2000. And in fact, who wins hinges on who carried these three southern states, Florida, South Carolina, and Louisiana. Both parties claim to have carried those states. It's not clear who is elected. Eventually, to make a long, complicated story shorter, negotiations take place between the two parties, and this so-called compromise or bargain of 1877 is reached, in which the Democrats agree to recognize Hayes, the Republican, as the victor in the presidential election, and Hayes agrees to recognize Democratic control of those three disputed states on the state level and to pull remaining federal troops out of the South. And in effect, what Hayes is saying, we're going to end Reconstruction. The bargain is the Republican Party will control the national government, but the Democratic Party will control the South. And this means that Reconstruction is over and the rights of blacks are going to slowly be rescinded or eliminated in the South.
Okay, when he said rescinded, it's kind of a nice way of that saying Rutherford B. Hayes basically told he told federal troops, the Republican at the time told federal troops, yo, the Democratic Party, who was, once again, racism is a global thing. It isn't tethered to one person or one thing. It's institutional, right? So the Democratic Party, which was they were the holders of racism of that time, focused on it more. Republicans were too. Don't get it twisted. But Rutherford B. Hayes, through the compromise from Samuel J. Tilden, basically saying, "Yo, I'll let you have the presidency, but in order for you to do that, you got to go ahead and pull those federal troops that are protecting those black people on their farms down there in the South." And he does exactly that, right? So that's what we have. That's not the beginning. We could go all the way back to Abraham Lincoln, but I just wanted to give you a short, 19th, 20th century history, right? So now, come forward a little bit. I believe come forward about almost 100 years later, you have the New Deal. Excuse me, not 100, 60 years later, you have the New Deal. And what is the New Deal? The New Deal is a bill signed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a hardcore racist, and his wife tried to get him to actually include black people in everything that he did. And he basically said, no, I don't fuck with them motherfuckers. He didn't say that, but that's what he said, right? And when he signed the New Deal, it left out African Americans at the time because it excluded agriculture workers and domestic workers, who at the time was most of the people. So here's a short clip from the Smithsonian Channel on YouTube, basically going over this. Like I said, I'm going to clip you to death a little bit, but just stick with me. Death. Got to get the TH, death. Stick with me. Here goes.
Oakland, California is a predominantly African-American neighborhood. This is the home movie footage of one resident, Ernest Bean. The Beans are unusual for the time. A family moving up to the middle class. Ernest is fortunate. He has a steady job. During the Depression, unemployment for blacks is at 50%, twice the rate of whites. Jim Crow laws mean segregation is still widespread. Even the New Deal discriminates against African Americans. Whites get the pick of the jobs and a higher wage. One place black men are welcome to work is on the Pullman sleeper trains. Each luxury car is staffed by uniformed porters. The majority are African American. Ernest Bean is one of these porters. His job provides a stable income through the Depression, but it comes at a price. Black journalist Thomas Fleming observed, "A porter had the best job in his community and the worst on the train."
So to put things in a little bit of context, that right there is at the height of the Great Depression, as the clip mentioned. And if you would like to view that clip, you just go to YouTube, type in how the New Deal left out African Americans. So that's the height of the Great Depression. Unemployment is at 50%, ladies and gentlemen, 50%. And I would argue it probably was even higher, right? So you have a Democratic president, FDR. I'm sure at the time you have a Republican Party, right? What's going on at that time? What is the Republican Party doing for the black community at that time? They like to say that, when Donald Trump was running, he was like, what is the Democratic Party doing for you? Blah, blah, blah. But what was the Republican Party, as you have a Democratic president leaving out African Americans out of a bill that actually, the New Deal was signed into law and actually became the gravy train for most people in the United States, excluding black people, right? So out of that was the GI Bill. People bought homes. They got to build what we call generational wealth. What was the Democratic Party doing? Excuse me. I keep saying that. Maybe you see what I'm saying? That actually proves my point that racism is not tethered to one thing, because my Freudian slip keeps saying Democratic Party, but both in fact is true. What was the Republican Party doing for the black community? And what was the Democratic Party doing for the black community at that time? And the bigger point I'm trying to make is not me attacking the Democratic Party of the 1930s, because heavens no. Once again, no one party is responsible for racism. Racism is a nonpartisan issue. You understand what I'm saying? But there was no coalition building on the side of the Republican Party to say, you know what? Since this is happening, we need to take care of the racism that's happening to black people. That wasn't happening at a governmental federal level, clearly in a bill that they passed that left out African Americans, right? So in order to, just for the sake of saving time, fast forward a little bit, that's the 1930s. Fast forward 30-something years. You remember, in that bill, African Americans was excluded. So what that tells you, even from the time of the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment, there's still a fight for African Americans. And that fight will come because, the saying goes that if Lincoln freed the slaves, you wouldn't have needed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, right? So the 1960s brings you the Civil Rights Act, signed by who? A Democratic president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who, by the way, he didn't sign it because he was feeling good about himself. He was a good Texan Southerner. No. It was black people, Dr. King and a host of other black people, A. Philip Randolph, all these people, Fannie Lou Hamer, everybody is there, right? We talk about Dr. King a lot. However, we don't talk about, and I mentioned Fannie Lou Hamer, talking about the group of people that all together played this role. Coretta Scott King, right? The women in this fight were there too. Black men and women forcing Lyndon Baines Johnson to sign that bill, forcing him to sign the bill because it was the right thing to do. At the time, the civil rights leaders, that's what they wanted, right? But as that bill is signed, just back up a little bit, Lyndon Baines Johnson beating the shit out of Barry Goldwater, who was the Superman of racism, right? Barry Goldwater, that motherfucker was racist as shit, right? So you have that. I think I was pausing to say something, but I totally forgot. So you have Lyndon Baines Johnson signed that bill, and he signs that bill, and it was from that time moving forward that white America decided they will no longer vote for the Democratic Party. That's when they left the Democratic Party, right? The shift started to happen. Why did they jump over? They felt as though, yo, you're gonna give black people the rights we're getting? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? This book I was reading, oh man, I think I need to turn around real quick to read the book. The title of the book is Horace Tate. I completely forgot the title, but right, where in that book they're talking about, yo, are you gonna give blacks, the education we're getting? Like the white people of the time is talking like, yo, are you gonna give blacks the education? Next thing you know, they're going to want to go to school with us. So the Civil Rights Bill gets signed into law. It signs into law, and then white America says, nah, we good. We not doing this, right? So we keep coming, right? That's that. We have there where the Republican Party, because of how far racist, Barry Goldwater went, the Republican Party said, okay, this is our new thing. We're going to speak to white people, and we're going to speak to their fear of black people, right? So you have Ronald Reagan come in. Remember how I said Barry Goldwater was the Superman of racism? Then Ronald Reagan was the, let me see. He's the Captain America of racism. And look up that history of Captain America. Real funny. I think it was like purposely that I thought of that. But there's that. You have Ronald Reagan, super racist, war on drugs. He perpetuates the welfare queen stereotype on black people, specifically black women at the time. Then he doubled down on Nixon's war on drugs. All this is going on. He vetoed the Voting Rights Act. This is a Republican, Ronald Reagan, a Republican. And frankly, he probably didn't meet a black person he didn't want to lock up, right? So there's that, Nixon, Reagan, such and such, right? So you have that. And obviously, I'm metaphorically speaking, I'm not saying every black person he met he locked up because, I'm sure there were black Republicans at that time too, right? You have George H.W. Bush. Racist too. He runs a Willie Horton ad, and later on in his career, he says, I regret making that ad. Too late. You went racist. It is what it is, right? But all this is what I'm telling you is these are soft racists, right? They're not, you have that aunt in your family that just say whatever is on their mind, and you just be like, ugh. But then you have that cousin that leans over to you at the family dinner table and say it, and you're like, oh, go ahead, and you laugh. What the Republican Party is enjoying at this time between Ronald Reagan, Nixon, Reagan, H.W. Bush, is they're enjoying the quiet racists. They're enjoying the cousin at the table that whispers the racism to you. They can't stand the loud my aunt that say whatever's on their mind, i.e. Donald Trump, right? So you have that. George H.W. Bush, he runs the Willie Horton ad. He regrets it. Bill Clinton comes into office, and to appease to these racist-ass Republicans, he says, you know what? To appease to these Republicans and so I can get their vote from the previous 30 years, he doubles down on mass incarceration to appease to them. But now I ask you at this time, what's going on? Where's the Republican Party that says, yo, you know what? That's wrong. We're not going to lock up black and brown people. Here's what we're going to do. No, they don't do that. They don't offer a solution. Instead, Newt Gingrich comes in and says that bill that Bill Clinton signed, that bill that he signs into law, the violent crimes bill, here's what you're going to do. We're going to go ahead and do away with all the good parts of that bill. Instead, we're going to focus on the bad parts. The more prisons, the more police officer, right? And instead of whatever was inside of the crime bill being asked for, like, if there were rehab centers, if there was a way to do these things, right? And they did away with all that. Newt Gingrich, he came in and he said, fuck that. We ain't playing fair with these Democrats. Fuck big government. He's saying all these things, right? That's what he's doing. So that Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, widely known as the 1994 Crime Bill, instead of focusing on, some people say there were good parts to it. Other people say no, there was nothing good to it because they were saying it was the violent crimes, women. I always forget the exact wording of the bill. Violence against women in the bill, right? The Violence Against Women Act was in there, right? Violence Against Women Act. That was it. I think that's it. That's it. I always mess it up. It was signed into law by Bill Clinton, right? Sorry that I stuttered over that. That's what's going on at the time. So that's the brief history. I want to bring this a full circle. So after Clinton, you have Bush 43, right? Bush 43, George W. Bush, he comes in, sits by, doubles down on all the racism of the previous 30 years of the Republicans, right? Stands by as Hurricane Katrina is happening where black people are dying, flies over and looks down as to say like he's passing a nice, awesome island somewhere, right? But back up a little. How do he win his election? And I'm going to break this down for you. The 2000 election wasn't without its controversy. And I want to play a short clip in here that will probably fucking blow your mind. And what I'm coming to is, I'll say this, then I'll play the clip. What I'm coming to here, the process of stealing elections has been mounting for a very long time by the Republican Party. It's just, as Malcolm X said, the chicken has come home to roost. I'll pause here and I'll play this clip for you.
No major law firm in Florida would work for Al Gore.
Even Democratic?
Even Democratic-oriented law firms, because everyone was afraid of antagonizing the Bush family, antagonizing the governor, and losing important state business.
Did you have any evidence that they had been called by the governor?
No evidence that anyone said anything to anybody. Stuff didn't have to be said, right? It was just all obvious. It turned out that the name of the governor of the state of Florida was the same name as the name of the person we were running against, and so nothing had to be said. And I'm not saying that Governor Bush did anything wrong. I don't believe he did. I want to be clear about that. But it wasn't a fair process. It wasn't a neutral process. It was a process that was rigged against us.
Well. What do we have here? We have a state, Florida, where the election, the 2000 election, comes down to Florida. And the person who's running for president on the Republican side just so happened to have a brother who's the governor of that state, right? Running against a Democratic president, a Democratic incumbent, Al Gore. So you have George W. Bush going against Al Gore for the seat. And the Supreme Court gets involved in a state issue, because elections are a state issue. If you hadn't learned anything in the past 2 months about elections, they're a state issue, right? So you have that. And you have him saying, I forgot that individual, he actually worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign, Obama's campaign, actually worked President Barack Obama's campaign, Clinton affiliate, clearly he was helping Al Gore, so therefore, Bill Clinton, so on and so forth. But you have him saying the whole thing was unfair. So you have the beginnings of where you're seeing the Republican Party toying with the idea, right, of stealing elections. But then here's the other part. You saw when if you want to see that clip, go to YouTube, type in Jeb's role in 2000 Florida recount. But what you really miss is the other part of that is this. Yes, you had people storming the Capitol on January 6th. But here's the thing. That was a soft, in 2000, that was the soft run. They didn't have to use their full force of violence. But in 2000, they just showed up, was aggressive yelling, a bunch of white men, aggressive yelling. The media even gave them a nice name. Oh, the Brooks Brothers riots, right? Soft, play along. Remember what I said, the media, the women, the men, the racist policies, all these things that killed the Republican Party, the media playing along with racism through and through with every Republican president, with every Democratic enabler that was racist, right? Think about that. So now you have these quote unquote Brooks Brothers riots. I'm going to play this clip for you.
And there have been, as you may have heard, false claims of fraud. But this playbook actually goes back a long ways. It's only more mainstream now. The New York Times says the tactics strikingly similar to what extreme GOP activists did in the 2000 federal recount. In Miami back then, GOP operatives seized on a false rumor to stage what became known as the Brooks Brothers riot. What you're witnessing there ultimately shut down the recount right here in Miami, and it never started up again. The man who reportedly orchestrated that riot was Trump's longtime fixer, Roger Stone.
What sounds familiar? You heard somebody that's affiliated with Donald Trump, right? Doing something back in 2000 that is similar to today. So that was Ari Melber. If you would like to listen to that clip, go to YouTube and type in give me GOP tactics in FL recount, Florida recount, and you'll see it. And that was Ari Melber down in Florida in 2018 because they were talk of fraud again. See, this time they couldn't talk about Florida because Donald Trump won Florida. So they had to find somewhere else to come up with this lie again. And if you noticed, the New York Times article that Ari Melber is reading from called them protesters, Brooks Brother riots. And what they did was they went to the place where they were counting votes in Miami, predominantly black and brown community, and told them to stop the votes and stop counting the votes. And they stopped counting the votes. This time, it wasn't a state that they could have controlled. This time, it wasn't elected officials that will play the game with them, right? Because I would argue Florida is a lot more controlled by Republicans and they could get away with this. You want to thank goodness that this didn't happen in Florida this year. Like what was going on with Donald Trump trying to steal the election in Georgia wasn't happening in Florida because there's proof it happened in 2000, right? So Roger Stone, who is, he accepted a pardon from Donald Trump. So he's a known crook at this point. He was cool with Ronald Reagan. He's been in and out the Republican Party. This has been going on. So you fast forward to today. You have the Republican Party where they're like, yo, I'm shocked. I can't believe this about Donald Trump. I had a clip I was going to play from all the Republicans, Rafael Cruz, Marco Rubio, Nimrata Haley, who was the governor of South Carolina. She goes by Nikki Haley because she wants to hide the fact that she's Indian because she assimilates to America. You have Rick Perry, Mitt Romney, who was against Donald Trump, went to go sit with Donald Trump to get a position in the administration. When he didn't get in, then he became senator. He decided, I'm against him. Nah, you wanted a position. Fuck you too. All these people, Lindsey Graham, that was against him. This is the Republican Party. The Republican Party is Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is the Republican Party. They just don't want him to say the racist shit out loud. They just don't want him to be corrupt in the open, right? But I will play this clip. I told y'all to go ahead and watch Tiffany Cross out there on MSNBC. And she gave an awesome breakdown. And I'm going to play this clip from her. It's Tiffany Cross, Cross Connection on MSNBC every Saturday from 10 to 12. Here goes.
Self-awareness, GOP, why don't you look into it? But there is one last falsehood that we really do need to address. Every time these atrocities happen, like the kidnapping and caging of migrant children at the southern border, racist comments and tweets from government officials, and these mass shootings, there's a chorus of people from the shrinking majority who decry, this is not who we are. But isn't it though? To quote Childish Gambino, this is America. And let's finally have an honest conversation about it. America was not founded on peace and prosperity. It was taken from the Native Americans with blood and fury. It was not built on equity and equality. It was built on the backs of the enslaved. The country did not allow opportunity for everyone. It afforded power to a privileged few. For so long, their American dream was our American nightmare. So let's not feign surprise when white supremacy rears its ugly head again and again and again and again. Or when a mad MAGA crowd is allowed to violently attempt to disrupt democracy. Now, it may not be who we want the country to be, but crowds of mostly white people violently fighting to maintain rule is as old as the Battle of Jamestown and as American as apple pie.
I mean, come on. You don't get no better than that, right? Their American dream was our ugly nightmare. And the Republican Party has stood by and watched white supremacists, white nationalists grow in this country. They elected the Republican Party. They elected a man that harassed the first black president of the United States, President Barack H. Obama. Harassed him as a regular citizen. You weren't born here. You're not from here. Show your birth certificate. Show your college degree. You're not that smart. He couldn't have gotten those grades. That man gets in, President Barack Obama gets into office. And his first year, what happens? Joe Wilson, a congressman from South Carolina. A congressman from South Carolina, peasy old fucking congressman, yells out at his first State of the Union, President Barack Obama's first State of the Union, yells out, "You lie." President Barack Obama froze. Nancy Pelosi froze. Joe Biden looks up. Nancy Pelosi is scanning. Who said that? President Barack Obama does that cool thing he does with his shoulder. He took his elbow and he kind of raised it up. Go look at the video, right? Raised it up and kind of brushed it off as he always did. Jim Clyburn wanted to censure Joe Wilson. And, Barack Obama said to him, let's move forward. You understand? Jim Clyburn didn't go forward with it. This is not a blame on Barack Obama at this moment. But Jim Clyburn at that moment should have said to Barack Obama, Mr. President, if we don't hold this white man accountable, at his age, he surely doesn't, to use that political word, he surely doesn't know what decorum is. So let's hold him accountable, right? Donald Trump comes in, berates, as a regular citizen, berates Barack Obama. Run for office, called Mexican rapist. As a candidate, they unearthed a video that he grabs women by the pussy. And the Republican Party elects this man. After he said, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, nothing can happen to me. Said a Mexican judge could, a judge couldn't do his job because he was of Mexican descent. This is who he is. This is who this country is. So all this shock and awe, now it's coming out reports that people were saying that, Capitol Hill, U.S. Capitol Police was complicit. Either implicit or explicitly, they was going along with it. And people were like, nah, it couldn't be. Coming back to Jim Clyburn again. Remember, I talked about Jim Clyburn saying defund the police, rah, 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 all that good stuff, right? He was saying this was too easy. They found where not my office is, but my real office is. I have two offices. It's one that says my name and the other one that I actually work from. They knew where that was. It's coming out now that one Capitol Hill police took a selfie with them. I saw that. And from the politics on my mind, politics on my mind without the letter I on Twitter, politics on my MND on Twitter, I tweeted at the Capitol Police. I was like, yo, what's going on with this? Was this from today? Do you allow this? Do you condone this? Nothing. I emailed, the Capitol Police Public Information Office, and I said, yo, after what I saw yesterday, I think your chief of police, Steve Suskin, I think his name was. I forgot his name. He should resign, right? Because this was looking, I woke up and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, this look all too easy, right? It looked all too easy. Like, how were they able to just, all these people storm this Capitol? How were they able to do all of this? How is it so easy? Steven's son, S-U-N-D. That's the Capitol Police Chief. Excuse me, I apologize for that mistake, right? This was too easy. They were able to just walk past everything. All these people, all these rioters, right? These insurrectionists, they were white. They got away with it. Come to find out, one police officer is taking a selfie with them. Another police officer, come to find out, had on a MAGA hat and was walking through the Capitol with them. Come to find out, there were police officers in that crowd. Come to find out, there were people from the fire department. There were CEOs in there. There were real estate brokers. It kills the notion that the Democratic Party is always chasing this working class Republican trying to get their vote. Stop that shit. Black people gave you the House, the Senate, and the motherfucking White House. Y'all need to stop this shit. Stop this shit trying to chase this white voter that somehow you may offend because I say defund the police. If this doesn't answer anything for you, the Republican Party is dead. It's been dead. And remember, I put in enabling Democrats that allowed the Republican Party to play. Here's what you do. It's this simple. Hold every last one of these motherfuckers accountable. The people who stormed the Capitol, insurrectionists, rioters, all of them. Right? From the Twitter account for the podcast, I tweeted September 11, 2001, and then the pointing finger, January 6, 2021. They're the same, a terrorist attack, just by a different name. Hold them accountable. Joshua Hawley, the senator from Missouri, he was, like Cori Bush in her op-ed, she said, this is the America that black people know, that, he what's the word? I totally forgot the word I was going to use. I totally messed up a whole good point. Josh Hawley, to quote Cori Bush in this op-ed, it's, quote, it's to deny that he appropriated the sign of black power, the raised fist, into a white supremacist salute, a fist he has never raised at a march for Black Lives because he has never shown up to one, unquote, right? So Joshua Hawley, who is the current senator from Missouri, appropriated the black power fist to say to these people who were about to storm the Capitol, do your thing. Raphael Ted Cruz, he said he gave a speech down in Georgia with Kelly Loeffler, telling them combat and using all these fighting words. Hold these people accountable, expel them. Remember, I started the story with Congress members and the vice president doing their constitutional duty. There were 140 House members of Congress who was objecting to this election based on a lie, saying it was a fraud, based on a lie. There's a woman, who had a gun, Congresswoman who carries a gun. She says she'll carry her gun. Heck them on. There's another Congresswoman. I should know their name. Let me look her up because we should know their name, right? We shouldn't just be saying we shouldn't just be saying this Congresswoman. We should know their name. Illinois Republican Congresswoman Mary Miller. She quoted Hitler to these people, basically saying, not basically, quoted Hitler as this is taking place. Now she's saying, I'm sorry, I apologize. No, fuck that. You gotta go. These people got to go. You got to hold them accountable, right? The House, which is controlled by the Democratic Party at the moment, they're going to impeach Donald Trump. That's for the historical records. Donald Trump needs to be held accountable. There's some DOJ memo so you can't indict a sitting president, all that bullshit. He has to face criminal charges. He incited these people before, during, and after. They banned him from all platforms, all social media platforms he's banned from, right? You hold them accountable. This is not hard. So the man who killed the Republican Party is actually always been the Republican Party all along. This has been the Republican Party all along. To take the point from Tiffany Cross, this is the Republican Party is baked in white supremacy as apple pie is to America. I don't like apple pie, by the way. It just, yeah, now I know why. I've never liked it. I remember as a kid, McDonald's used to have the $1 apple pie. My high school friends used to love that shit. I used to be like, just can't stand the smell of apple pie. But anyway, right? The man who killed the Republican Party has been part of the Republican Party the entire time, sitting back watching like, I like their racism. I could get in there. You know what? They're soft with their racism. I need to get loud and get into that party. You understand? So when you read this title, think of it in a bigger way. Think of it in a way that what they're trying to tell you, you know, along the lines of what Tiffany Cross is saying, they're trying to tell you like, oh man, you know what? This ain't us, man. This is bad. You're going to have Mike Lee, Mitt Romney, all of them come out and, you know, distance themselves, and people are leaving, you know, giving their 2 weeks notice to go to another job from the administration. Betsy DeVos, Elaine Chao, you know, fuck all of them, right? Institutions need to hold them accountable. You're going to have all Mitt Romney, Mike Lee telling you, Willard Romney is his name, actually. You're going to have Willard Romney telling you, oh, this is inappropriate. But Willard Romney, when you was running against Barack Obama, you said 47% of people don't pay tax, coding that black and brown people don't pay taxes, right? And some might argue that was the October surprise that made you lose that race. Outside of you were just a terrible candidate to begin with, and Barack Obama just beat the shit off of you, right? Sent you back home packing, to the fact you was a governor of one state, you had to go to another state to be a senator because you couldn't end up being a senator in the state that you was a governor of. That's how terrible of a candidate you were. You had to run to another state to be, a senator. This is the Republican Party, right? They've always been barking racism. They've always been thumbing their nose at the law. Always, right? Iran-Contra, the war on drugs, fronting like it was a war on drugs. Meanwhile, you allowing drugs to come into the country, happening on the Ronald Reagan. You have a Reagan aide that said the war on drugs was just a way to, target black people. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't do it, so they fronted like, oh, it was the war on drugs. They knew they were going off after black people, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the man who killed the Republican Party has always been in the Republican Party. Don't let them lie to you and tell you that Donald Trump somehow destroyed the Republican Party. No. Don't let them lie and tell you that somehow Donald Trump is not a conservative Republican. You know, he's not the type of Republican that we go. He hijacked the party. No. Because he couldn't become president he couldn't become the nominee of the Republican Party and president without receiving votes from people who called themselves Republican. They lie and tell you, I care about abortion. They're motherfucking lying. And I said this to you before. What it is about abortion, they don't want white women to have abortions because they know black and brown people is overtaking them in terms of birth. And they know that white majority is quickly falling. They use some arbitrary there, 2045. No. I think it's more sooner than that. And this storm of the Capitol proved it for me. Don't let them tell you that how we want to move forward and once he leaves, we're going to change. No. They will remain the same people, right? Because the people who aided and abetted Donald Trump is still within the Republican Party. They want to go back to soft racism, but you must remind them, you killed yourself. Hip Hop Generation, we out.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.